right now in the US, 80% of us as Americans are overweight or even obese. That statistic has gotten bananas in the last 5 years, like post-COVID and everything else. We used to be at 70%. Now it's approaching 80% are either overweight or obese, and it's insane. So we're not doing something right as a society. In the daytime when you are eating, because we should be eating primarily when the sun's up during the day, start with protein. Don't do it like at the restaurant where they bring out that bread bowl and you're like just grinding all the different breads and whatever. Start with your protein. At the end of the meal, if you want to, you can throw in some carbs. Like I'll eat a big thing of some protein source, whether it be chicken, steak, fish, whatever. I'm from Hawaii, so fish is my go-to.
Let's talk about change. The truth is, nothing changes unless you change. And if you want to step into your full potential, you need to surround yourself with the right people. That is exactly why I have created the InPowered Life community. Within this community, I'm going to be teaching you the exact same mindset and energy practices that I have taught my clients that are paying me well over 6 figures, including CEO owners of billion-dollar organizations and professionals at the very top of their fields. You're going to get access to 2 live virtual calls every single month with me where we're going to dive into mindset, energy practices, spiritual principles that are going to help you thrive in every area of your life. Can't make a call? No worries. We're going to provide you with a recording so that you can catch up anytime. Plus, you're going to have the opportunity for direct coaching from me and to learn from incredible guest speakers who are going to share their best practices and growth. Remember, you become the people that you spend the most time with. So why not spend time within a community that is going to elevate you and your life? For an introductory $499, you're going to get a full year of support and coaching alongside high performers who are committed to expanding their careers, their growth, their finances, and to elevate their overall quality of life. Just click the link in the show notes or log into rudyriekstins.com to lock in your spot and start your transformation today. Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast, a space dedicated to spreading the message that you have the power within to create everything you seek.
So if you're ready to enroll in a new kind of higher learning, the kind that leads to true personal freedom, then hang here with us.
We're your hosts, Rudi and Aniston Riekstins, and this is the Empowered Life. Welcome to the InPowered Life Podcast. My name is Rudi Riekstins. I'm your host, and I am committed to bringing you incredible human beings who are going to support you in shifting not only some of the things that you do, but the way that you get to show up out and in the world. And today I'm bringing somebody who is actually a near and dear friend of mine, somebody who has been in my circle and or orbit for the last, 3 or 4 years. I have gotten to know him, his wife, now his kids, on a really beautiful, deep level. And they are human beings that are showing up, that are committed to something greater than just themselves. And that's what really drew me in. And the more that I spend time with them, the more I see that they aren't just people who are committed to saying the right thing at the right time, but doing the right thing all the time. And Thomas Hemingway is just an unbelievable human being that exemplifies the example of what does it look like to live your life not only in purpose, but with passion, and to show up as the best version of yourself by first filling your cup. We'll dive into a little bit more of this. Dr. Thomas Hemingway is a practicing ER doctor who is also now turned a functional health advocate. He helps people optimize their health so that they can perform at their highest level and serve and grow and ultimately turn around and do what he and his wife do so beautifully, and that is to impact others. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us on the Empowered Life Podcast. It's an honor to have you here, brother.
Oh man, so awesome to be here, Rudi. So grateful, really. Thanks for having me on the show, man. So pumped.
You know, I want to start right up front by just diving into why I wanted you on the show. So for the benefit of the audience, it's the InPowered Life Podcast. We're committed to creating shifts and changes in you so you can live your most empowered self. I love that you are supporting people to achieve their highest level self. And I talk about your highest and your greatest potential. Well, everyone has the potential, but not everybody flexes into that level of potential. You are probably somebody who lives the most unconventional life of anyone I know, and yet it looks like it is what the norm should be. For the benefit of the audience, you are married to Brooke Hemingway. The two of you are very impact-driven. You have 3 homes, one in Florida, one in Utah, one in Hawaii. You have 6 kids. You travel extensively all over the world. Your kids go with you. You have 2 boys that have already graduated college at 16 years old, I want to add. And I'm giving this all for context for how I'm setting this up. You are not somebody who believes in following the norm, and every area of your life is in that mark of how you constantly want to challenge the status quo so that you can get the maximum out of your life. You are somebody who doesn't work out in a gym, and yet you are a practicing ER doctor. You teach functional health, and yet you're not somebody who goes to the gym and lifts his same set of weights every single day following the same routine. You allow your life to be your gym. And I want to really start off like that. What really got you into wanting to create impact through your longevity practice? Because you are absolutely ripped. You have got so much muscle, no body fat. You are healthier than the day is long, and you're not practicing the way everybody else is practicing health and well-being.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all functional. If you can't go climb the mountain that you'd love to climb, if you can't, for me, surf for 8 hours straight, or whatever that is, if you can't do the things that you really love, like just doing, simple hinge exercises in the gym may not get you there. I think the gym is amazing. And it's funny you mentioned I don't often go to the gym. I basically go to the gym whenever I travel because I don't have my mountain bike with me. I don't have my surfboard with me all the time. I don't have all the gear that I love to utilize to really do what I just call life outside, which is, for me, movement is part of every single day. And it's one of the most beautiful things about life is getting out in nature. And so gyms are not my favorite place, but I do like them for the sheer purpose of building muscle. Muscle is the key to longevity. And when I'm not at a gym, I have, like I was showing you, I literally have free weights on the floor in front of my desk. And I'm standing, I work at a standing desk as well. I can't stop moving. I'm a little bit ADHD in that way, which probably was why I decided in the beginning to be an ER doctor, because you have to kind of be on your toes, so to speak. You got to, go from one thing to the next and kind of keep sharp, both mentally as well as physically. It's a quite demanding job. You're running around a, 10,000 square foot place and making sure everybody is not only not dying, but that they're getting everything that they need so that they can thrive. And what's been helpful in my life, Rudi, is just having this approach where, honestly, if you don't feel well and you don't have that, energy, and your mind is not able to focus and be sharp, I mean, you don't have much. I mean, you can't accomplish what you were brought to this earth to do without having your health. Your health is everything. And sadly, I've seen the converse of that way too many times, not only through my several decades in the ERs across the country, but also working with people one-on-one. They come to me and they're like, dude, I got to do something. Like, I'm in my 50s or 60s now, and I'm very much successful in a professional level, have a great family, got a beautiful home. But then I look down and I can't see my toes. I can't touch my toes. I can't even go up the stairs in my own home without, being out of breath. Like, what can I do? I want my life back. And so I love to help folks that are high achieving people like your listeners that want the best and the most out of their life so they can give back and they can contribute. And it all starts with the vessel. It all starts with how you are doing, both in your mind and in your body. And I just love to share that it's possible. It's possible without the 2-hour workouts in the gym. And I'm an example of that, as you mentioned. I literally just took a trip to Fiji with Brooke. It was the most beautiful trip, and she allowed me to surf the most amazing wave on the planet. It's called Cloud Break. In fact, 2 days ago, they just crowned the champion of the surfing, professional league of surfing called the World Surf League at Fiji, at Cloud Break, at this place I got to surf just a couple of months ago. And I literally, as a 50-plus-year-old, was in the water 8 hours straight, essentially with no break other than to hydrate, eat some protein bars, and I outsurfed everybody who was there, including teenagers, 20-year-olds, professional athletes. They were leaving every 2 hours to go eat and regroup. And I literally surfed 8 hours in a row, days on end. And it was amazing. And that's just what I love to stay active. But what I want the listeners to know is that their best health could be around the corner. It doesn't have to be years in the past. It doesn't have to be years in the future. Like, this stuff is accessible. And that's what I'm here to share.
So I have a memory that came to me while you were speaking of my GP growing up. And I remember my local family doctor, and he was overweight, smoker, drinker, and giving alcohol. Beg your pardon, giving advice. Like he was drinking alcohol frequently or excessively, I would say. And so, if you would think of this man in this little town, and here he is giving everybody health advice, but he was not the picture of health. And I was hospitalized last year, and so I had a interesting experience going through the emergency room. And I'm always somebody who's very much analyzing everything. It's just how my mind works. And I was watching all these people who are literally in life-saving mode all day long, and very few of them, if any of them, looked like the picture of health. And I was in hospital for 5 days, and so I would have these rotating doctors that would come through every 4 hours to check on me and do checkups and pull blood and all these things. There was only one doctor that came in on the last day that actually looked like he was lean and fit in his 40s. The rest of them did not look like the picture of health. And I was left with that feeling of like, wow, these are people that have the knowledge. They know what it takes to live optimally, and yet they're not putting it into practice. And it made me think now, when you were speaking of my doctor growing up, where I was a little judgmental as a child, thinking like, dude, you're giving me advice? Like how could you possibly be giving health advice? What do you say to somebody that's listening to this right now who knows what to do? I mean, we have enough awareness around us to know we shouldn't eat high volumes of sugar, and we shouldn't eat high volumes of carbs, and we should move our bodies. What do you say to somebody who maybe knows what to do, but they need that little encouragement to do it?
Yeah, and that's so common. And if you're one of those people, you're not alone. I mean, look around, and this is where it's great to not be normal. Like Rudi was saying, I'm everything the antithesis of what a normal, dude in his 52nd year of life is like. And it's not for lack of knowledge, like you said. I mean, there's, dozens and dozens of health podcasts. There's dozens of books out there. There's so much information. It's not for lack of information. We all know we should eat real food and avoid, sugar, like you mentioned, and all these kinds of things. But what I would say is the most important at the end of the day is a couple of things that you can do and do repeatedly, that a lot of it's just based upon how you wake up in the morning. Like, Rudi, you're amazing at this. Like, when you first roll out of the bed, don't touch this thing. I'm holding my cell phone. Don't touch this thing for at least 30 minutes. At least 30 minutes. If you can give yourself the gift of a whole hour, like, you're crushing it. But don't wake up and be reactionary. Take a few moments to yourself. Close your eyes. Go for a walk around the block like I usually try to do. Get some movement in. Hydrate. I try to start the day with 20 ounces of water. I might throw a little sea salt in there, a little bit of lemon juice. These are things that are accessible to all of us, that are simple, yet most of us don't do it, right? I mean, think about the last day that you gave yourself the gift of 30 to 60 minutes in the morning without touching your cell phone, or 30 to 60 minutes at night also without touching your cell phone. I call it the digital sunset. Your digital sunset should occur right around the time of the normal sunset. In other words, any device, phones, TVs, whatever, for the most part, put them away an hour or so before bedtime. I mean, I'll watch a movie with my kids, or I'll take my wife out once in a while to a movie. I'm not saying you can't look at a screen ever at night. Of course, I'm a normal human. I took my wife out to F1 last week. It was amazing. We had a great time. and I'm just as normal as any of you, in the sense that I'm not a hyper, ADHD, in the sense that I have to keep a strict list of, I got to eat this many calories. I don't count calories. I don't do any of that stuff. I just stay in the zone of overall health with movement, hydration, real food, and sleep is one of those, I think, most underrated things you could ever access as far as a lever in your life. And most of us don't access it in the way that can be helpful. And so, the doctors out there that Rudi saw, last year when he was in the hospital, they're not alone. Most doctors are not super healthy, which it's a super stressful career. And I've been there, and I know that. And I don't give them, it's like in my heart of hearts, like I have a lot of patience for that, because I grew up in that training, right? I'm a traditional Western medical doctor by training, yet my whole life I've lived in a holistic approach, the way I sort of look at life. I don't believe that there's a quote unquote pill for every ill. In other words, I'm not reaching for a medication for every symptom out there. I'm trying to dig deeper, get to the roots of what's occurring. And just like Rudi will get to the roots of what's happening in your head, in your brain, like what's really behind this. It's, not that you have whatever the condition may be, high blood pressure, diabetes, whatever these things you may have. It's not just throwing a Band-Aid over them with a common medication. It's the roots of that are much deeper, and they can be very simple, and it's accessible to all of us. So no matter where you are today, the things that we'll chat and share about in this brief conversation, or the things that you can access here in my book, which we can talk about later, are very simple and they're accessible to everybody. They're almost all free, and they can be extremely powerful.
One of the things that I love about you, and for context, we spent a week together in Hawaii recently. And what I loved is that you would pause in the middle of something and say, "Oh, I need to go move my body now." And it's like you just get to a point where you realize, "Oh, there's something that I need to do from a physiological perspective so I can show up as a better version of me." I heard you online in one of your videos, and I highly recommend people check you out on social at Dr. Thomas Hemingway. And we'll put it into the show notes, because it's always these bite-sized things that are manageable. And I'm going to ask a specific question at the end of this, but one of the most profound effects you've had on my life, Thomas, and I haven't shared this with you, but you had recorded a video where you challenged people to move for 10 minutes after every meal. 10 minutes after every meal. There isn't a person on the planet that cannot move for 10 minutes after every meal. And that is just in that moment, you've done something, you've eaten, you whatever. Now it's like, okay, well, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go walk around the block. I'm not committing to a half marathon. I'm not committing to a 4-mile run. I'm just going to take 10 minutes. I'm going to walk. I'm going to get on my walking treadmill behind my desk. I'm going to go lift some weight, whatever it is. And so that is, to me, something that's really simple that I've inserted into my day over and above, after I've left the gym, after I've done my sauna, my cold plunge, my morning. It's just that little thing that just keeps your body moving. I've loved the intentionality of how you show up, where you are always tuning into your body. You're listening to your body. And then you're saying, oh, this is what my body needs, at the cost of missing pool time with everybody, at the cost of, whatever else we were doing. You're committed to serving your body in the highest and greatest way. What are some of the easiest, closest, because you've already alluded to some of them, but what are some of the easiest things that people could do right now, assuming they don't have a strict health regimen? What could be something people could do right now that could create the greatest shift, that would be the evidence of seeing, well, when I do that, I'm gaining this in my life? And so what would be that closest, shortest bridge that you could offer somebody right now, based on all of your knowledge and experience, that is the biggest needle mover in people's lives and beginning to start to listen to their bodies, start to pour into themselves, and start to live a more healthy and abundant life?
Yeah, I'll just give you three super simple things, just bite-sized things that we can access every single day. I call these the S3 longevity levers. It's sort of the S3 approach. I like to keep it simple. I think I heard once, a decade or more ago, Tony Robbins say 1, 2, 3, too many. Like even 5, like my book has 5 things in it. I mean, if you keep it very simple, I think most of us in our minds, we believe that we can do it. If I give you a list of 10 things, and trust me, there's 10, there's 20, there's innumerable things that you could do. But honestly, 90% of all health really stems from a couple of simple things. I would say 3 to 5 things can get you 90+% of the way. The first thing is strength as medicine. In other words, if you build your muscle, that is literally the key to not only your metabolic health, but the key to longevity. And I would just say the key to having a great life. As I mentioned at the outset, there's people that I've met over the years that they've lost a lot of these things. And they're like, I would love to go back to how I felt when I was 20. And I'm here to share that it's possible. Like I literally feel as good, if not better than I did when I was 20 years old. And the first thing I would go for is for increasing your strength. Strength should be the biggest lever that we access. And this is something that I kind of lost track of over the years because I've never been a gym rat like Rudi has shared. And so I do things that largely don't require a gym. Like I was sharing earlier, I literally keep weights at the floor of my desk. And so like Rudi was saying, at a minimum, I would say most of us are working. We should try to, you could either, if you got one of these smartwatches or you got just your phone, set a timer for every, 50 minutes just for it to beep. And then you're like, okay, I need to take 3 minutes or the length of like, say your favorite song. Maybe it's Led Zeppelin. Maybe it's, for me, I used to listen to a lot of AC/DC as a kid, and that gets me pumped up. Like I get excited. I'll literally throw on one song, and during that song, I'll either do air squats like I'm doing here, or I'll do push-ups, or I'll do a plank for a couple of minutes. I actually have, in all of our doorways at our house, I have these pull-up bars that I can just throw over a door jamb. Like I even got this surfboard looking thing that I can roll around on a ball. And like I do just little things every hour, not only because it helps my body feel better, but it helps your mind sharpen. Your mental acuity gets really focused. And a lot of us forget about that. Like we're at our desk all day long. Maybe consider, if you have a normal desk, put a few books and put your computer on top and make it a standing desk. Or when I first started to do the standing desk 3 or 4 years ago, I just got, the leftover Amazon boxes because we're all getting stuff online. We got plenty of extra boxes in the garage. And literally I built my standing desk with just my computer on top of a bunch of boxes. So the first lever is strength, and it can be simple, whether it be air squats, whether it be burpees, whether it be push-ups, pull-ups, body weight exercises in your own home. This is critical to do muscle strength. And in the old days, Rudi and I, we called this weightlifting. For whatever reason, now they like to call it resistance training. Ooh, it sounds like something new that we've never done before. It's just doing things that increase your muscle mass, because that's the key to health, longevity, to feeling great. Right now in the US, every year after the age of 30, which I'd imagine most of the audience is around 30 and over, literally your muscle mass is declining here in the US at a rate sometimes exceeding 1% to 2% per year after the age of 30. Like, holy freaking crap, what is happening? They call this sarcopenia. And in medicine, we sort of globally think that that's inevitable. Oh, you just lose muscle mass as you age. Well, BS, it's not inevitable. It doesn't have to be the case. I've worked with people in their 70s that are just starting to do strength training or resistance training, and they're building muscle in their 70s and beyond. So I would say first, focus on strength. Cardio is amazing, and I do cardio just like anybody, but I've actually changed it up a bit, and I've added the strength at least 3 days a week. I focus on that, if not doing something small every day while I'm in the middle of a work day, like doing air squats or whatever. So strength is the first pivotal, I would say, lever to longevity. The other, the S2, so strength, the number one is the first S. The second S is the signals for your metabolism. So signals, think about when you wake up in the morning, we have the signal of daylight. And the two most powerful signals to program our body metabolically, functionally, are the light and dark cycles. So light and dark, that's your circadian rhythm, and the timing of your food. Those are the two biggest signals that affect us as far as our overall metabolic health on a daily basis. And so if we think about what we used to do hundreds, even thousands of years ago, when we first got up in the morning, did we open up the refrigerator? Did we open up our little snack, cupboard? Absolutely not, right? We had to go forage or hunt or gather. Like, we couldn't eat when we first rolled out of bed. So I would say when you wake up, delay your first meal, snack, calorie, whatever. Drink a big full glass of water first thing, and have overnight what I call a circadian fast. So I used to be big into intermittent fasting. I was pushing the 16, 18, 20 hours a day kind of thing. And that didn't work for me. I ended up losing muscle. It wasn't great. And I'm back to a 3 meal a day guy. And I felt so much better since I went back to that. But what I always do at night, minimum 12 hours of not eating, minimum. And I think that's easy for most of us to accomplish, provided we eat our dinner a little bit earlier. So say instead of eating at 8 o'clock in the evening, try to eat at 6 or 7. And then in the morning, try to wait at least, that 12 hours. So if you ate at 7 last night, at least don't eat until 7 a.m. And I think that's easy for most of us, but maybe even push it an extra hour. Try to get 13 or 14 hours overnight of not eating. And that will be a game changer for you. It actually is one of the quickest ways to increase your energy. I know it sounds crazy. How can you get more energy without eating? Well, I don't know if anybody here has ever done a prolonged fast. After you're sort of past the threshold of maybe 18, 24 hours, like you're so sharp and you're full of energy. Like the first day is rough, but if you do a multi-day fast, like you're through the roof with energy. But this is not what I'm talking about. I don't do multi-day fasts except maybe once or twice a year. But every day we can do a 12-hour fast overnight. So simple, so stinking accessible. And of course, it's free. And then paying attention throughout the day to when we're eating. So I'm a 3 meal a day guy, and I sometimes will reach for a snack if I need to. But when you do eat, start with protein. Very, very simple. It's the opposite of what, like Rudi said in the beginning, when the masses are doing something, like run away, do the opposite thing. And that's kind of how I've lived my life. Don't do what everybody else is doing, because if you do, you get the same results. And right now in the US, 80% of us as Americans are overweight or even obese. Like 80% of us. That statistic has gotten bananas in the last 5 years, like post-COVID and everything else. We used to be at like 70%. Now it's approaching 80% are either overweight or obese. And it's insane. So we're not doing something right as a society, like all those sick doctors that Rudi mentioned. So in the daytime, when you are eating, because we should be eating primarily when the sun's up during the day, start with protein. Don't do it like at the restaurant where they bring out that bread bowl and you're like just grinding all the different breads and whatever. Start with your protein. At the end of the meal, if you want to, you can throw in some carbs. Like I'll eat a big thing of some protein source, whether it be chicken, steak, fish, whatever. I'm from Hawaii, so fish is my go-to when I'm in Hawaii. When I'm other places, it's either chicken or steak. And I might have a little bit of rice, maybe a couple of bites, but I eat it later in the meal. I don't start with the 2-scoop rice like the Hawaiian colleagues of mine. So I'd say those are the first two biggest levers. The third S is for sleep and stress optimization, because most of us are under accessing the power of sleep. You can't wait until you're dead to sleep. Like I used to think, like that famous Cure song, right? Sleep when you're dead. That was my approach for probably 3 decades of my life, and it wasn't serving me. I got so inflamed, and I'll just throw this in. Most of us that aren't at our optimal health, it's not because we're quote unquote sick. You guys are all perfect. We're created perfectly and beautifully. Our body is innately the most miraculous gift and thing that I've ever observed. Like your body knows how to heal. Your body knows what to do. We just have to give it the simple items that it needs, like the movement, the eating in the right windows, the sleep, and optimizing the stress that comes at us. Because no matter where we are in life, there's always things that are stressful, right? I got 6 kids right now. I got a couple of teenagers that sometimes stress me out a fair amount. Different work things, all the travel that we do, all of these are some sort of a stress. And the approach that we take to deal, or I would just say the tools that we can learn to optimize the stress, because we're going to get it. Like Hans Selye said, it's not the fact that we are trying to live a stress-free life. It's just how we decide that stress will affect us. It's not the stress in itself that kills us. It's in our mind, the choice that we make to the meaning that we put behind that stress. What we decide, if that stress is for us, and we're like, it's like a weight, like that thing's heavy and it's annoying, but hey, that thing can give me muscles. That's going to give me the strength, the energy to do all these things that I want to do, to go out in the world and help people and help my kids, and to go out and play baseball with my kid later, like whatever that looks like. That stress is going to come. We just have to decide if it's going to be a hindrance or if it's going to uplift us, and we're going to use that to be able to strengthen ourselves in that way. So I could talk about each of these for an hour a piece, but tell me what thoughts you have and what questions you have.
Hey, it's Aniston Riekstins here, and I want to ask you, have you ever wondered if there's more to your life and work than what you're doing right now? What if I told you that the universe is hiring and you were born to fill a role that will bring you true purpose and success? In my new #1 best-selling book, The Universe is Hiring, Discover the Role You Were Born to Fill, I'm going to show you exactly how to step into that role. This isn't just a book full of inspiration. It's a roadmap to help you start shifting into a more fulfilling life right now. You'll get clear on your unique purpose, learn how to align with your strengths, and take actionable steps towards the career and life that truly light you up. If you're ready to make a change and start living the life you were meant for, grab your copy today. Available anywhere you buy your books online or click the link in the show notes.
I want to always ground the information that is shared on the podcast so the audience can understand what's in it for them. Because human behavior is, if you don't understand what's in it for you, you're never going to do. Regardless of how much logic and reason is placed in front of you, you need to see you in the information. I practice everything that you've just said. Haven't always been that way, but I want to ground this for the benefit of the audience. I have gone out to Costa Rica to RMI, which is one of the leading, if not the leading, stem cell facility in the world, and they do these full scans of your body. They do these intense levels of blood work to have a look at, who are you as you are preparing to get these stem cells. And I don't think that stem cells are necessary for everybody. I think the ability to get this work from you here remotely without having to go somewhere to get it at that level has so much value. But I use this to emphasize the point. I do the 12 to 14 hour, fasting at night. I eat my protein first thing in the day, obviously move my body, and I hyper focus in on sleep. And we've done entire episodes on sleep and the benefits of sleep on the podcast, so I won't reiterate that. But when they did all of my tests, they came back to me and they said in all their years of doing this, they've never seen somebody except for one Olympian, and they work with all of the professional athletes. They said they've never seen somebody have a healthier looking body. They could not believe. They said, you are at an Olympian level. No, I mean, I had minimal levels of inflammation in the body and just the recovery and the health. And they were like, they could not believe how healthy I was. And then my wife came out with me on a trip, and then they saw hers, and ours was so similar. And they were like, whatever the two of you were doing is clearly working. And I really spent a lot of time thinking about what were we doing that would deliver those results. And everything you just said is what we've been doing. And so I want to challenge the audience. Don't just listen to Dr. Thomas Hemingway today. I want you to take action. There's nothing he has said now that is not something that you could implement in your life as early as today, where you will start to see the benefits as early as tomorrow. I know that you've spent a lifetime saving people from dying, meaning you've been the Band-Aid at the end of so often what has been the problem. And you are shifting dramatically your business to preventative. You've written a book on preventative health. I would love for you to speak into a little bit about why you shifted from saving people in the trauma versus preventing the trauma altogether. Tell us a little bit about the book. What could we gain? And then also just the work that you're doing today in supporting people.
Yeah, absolutely. And my whole life since I was a young kid, I've always been fascinated with the human body, how our bodies, like I said a little while ago, are innately so intelligent, so beautiful, so miraculous the way they can do things. And sadly, right now in society, and what I was seeing a decade or so ago when this really hit me is that, in my work as a board certified physician, primarily the first 2 decades of my career working in an ER setting, I was seeing people come in as young as their 30s, often in their 40s, with things like heart attack and stroke and just severe disease. And when I did my training almost 30 years ago, everybody that had heart attacks and strokes was like 70s, 80s, and beyond. Like I didn't see young people. And so the shift that I was seeing in our society, where we're getting less healthy with time, even though we have the most access to both procedures, the highest end testing and all of these kinds of things, it wasn't getting people healthy. And this is the part, Rudi, that kind of drives me bonkers. Like there's big groups out there, and there's even some that I like that are doing things that are incredible as far as the highest end data collection, the highest end imaging. And I see the people that are accessing this stuff, and for the most part, it's not changing their life. The reason is because they're not changing the simple, accessible things, and they're not guided in a way that they're able to make that change. So what's different about what I do and about what almost anybody else does who's a physician, even those that are focusing on performance and longevity like I do, is I teach a method that can be done in very little added time. This is specifically designed for very, very busy professionals, people that don't have, an hour a day to go to the gym. This is how I design my program, thinking most folks don't have this, large quantity of time to dedicate to their body, but these are the things that they could fit in. And so it's a combination of very specific high-end testing that we do, because the normal lab test that you get at your regular physician, blood count, the electrolytes, the cholesterol panels, that's like the minimum starting point. You don't even get the information that you need. There's much more testing that you need to do to get to sort of the roots of what's going on in your body. So firstly, getting the appropriate testing, having a guide that's been there that knows how to get you to the place where you want to go to guide you along, and not just say, oh, just eat better, just move your body, just sleep. Like, duh, we know all that. But how can you incorporate that into daily life? And so that's what I focus on now, is I like to guide people professionally with the method that I've designed so that they can make these tools a part of their daily life in a way that will optimize their individual and personalized health. So that's what's so cool about this. It's all personalized. It's not, I give everybody the same plan, if you will. Everybody gets a different plan because we're all different. Like, thank goodness we're all different. What a boring world it would be if we were all identical. Like, everybody is different. I meet you where you are. We start with extensive testing. We build a plan that's specific to your needs, specific to your lifestyle. And that is not only actionable and doable, but that is powerful. Because right now, like we talked about a few minutes ago, it's not for lack of information. We know the things we should be doing, but it's how can we incorporate this into daily life? How can we measure it? Because what you don't measure, you can't manage. You can't really act upon. You have to measure it. And so, yes, it starts with the simple principles that I teach in this book called Preventative, 5 powerful practices to avoid disease and build unshakable health. It starts with those simple 5 practices, but that is the tip of the iceberg. From that point, there's lots of deeper dives you can do with the guide of someone who knows the way. So that's where I come in. I know the path. I can help the individual so that not only they avoid these common diseases, because 7 out of 10 of the leading causes of death right now today worldwide are almost 90+% preventable. It's crazy to think about that powerful, just knowing that and knowing that you're not, it's not that you're sick, you're under recovered, you're inflamed and metabolically stressed. All this can be changed in the matter of days to weeks to months. This is not something that you have to be with for the rest of your life. You are not broken. You are not, as your doctor may say, just getting older. Like, I went to my doctor in my 30s, Rudi, and I wasn't feeling good. I was not as energized as I was used to. I literally would come home from work and I would sit on the couch and I just couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. I was still surfing most days and still doing stuff, but I just didn't have that level of energy, clarity of focus. And what did I do? Well, I went to my doctor. I got my labs. Guess what? They were all normal. Well, the reason for that is because he didn't dig deeper. He didn't do the specific testing that I really needed. He didn't go deeper. He didn't get to the place where the information was actually leading the way. He did the normal standard labs, which most doctors do. And I'm not, bagging on normal doctors, the traditional ones in Western medicine, because that's how I got my training, but they just don't know what they don't know. And so that's what I've been focusing on the last decade, really, in the last couple of years specifically, is helping people to access these powerful tools in a way that's personalized, individualized, so that they can get out of bed in the morning and be excited about the rest of their life because they're getting their energy back. They're feeling 10 or 20 years younger, and they don't have to be thinking in their head, oh, this is just what it's like to be 40 or 50 or 60. My life is just going to get worse and worse as far as my health, my energy. BS. That doesn't have to be you. That can be changed, and it can be changed a lot quicker than you think.
I just had a family reunion this past weekend. My dad's 75th, my brother's 50th. And a conversation that came up was around age. And somebody had made the comment, well, wait till you get to my age. And I had that chuckle of like, I'm never going to be like that at that age, at least, not out of my control. And I'm going to do the things that I can do to live a full functioning life. And I would love to know if you could speak into a little bit. You've mentioned your book, Preventable, and that there's all these diseases, and the majority of them are curable, 90+%. And you mentioned we can start to see recovery within days, weeks, months, or years, depending on the state of somebody's health or well being. And then you do very intense, hyper focused work with people where you hold their hand and walk them forward. Now, before I ask the question, I want to ground this. When I go to somebody and I hire a coach, or I get an expert, or I get an expert opinion, I go to somebody that's already achieved what I want to achieve. When I look at your life, the life of your wife, the life of your children, the level of efficiency and effectiveness that all of you have. And I mentioned in the very beginning that you've got these 3 homes, not to brag about how successful you are. I mentioned you've got 2 kids that graduated college at 16 years old, not because I wanted to impress upon how smart and intelligent your kids are, which they are. It's that you have taught them how to live life. They spend their days, skiing and wakeboarding and all these incredible outdoor adventures, and then they hyper focus in. So you've taken what has been your life and you've molded it now, and your kids have molded their lives around that same practice. And all of you are just incredibly healthy and vibrant and vivacious. And so when I suggest that people look into the work that you're doing, it's to be able to emulate some of the incredible skills that you demonstrate in your life, not in what you preach in your job or in the work that you do. But for somebody who is wanting to take that shift, who do you recommend goes and grabs a copy of the book? And is that for somebody who's dealing with one of these 7 illnesses, or is this just for anybody? And then who do you work with, and who would be your ideal person, so that the audience kind of says like, hey, you know what, that's where I'm at. I should grab the book, or I should grab a time and talk to him. Like, who specifically should be guided to which parts of the work that you do?
I would say the most important thing to think about is your readiness and commitment level. The book is for everybody. The book I wrote for the masses. It's not high tech in a way that's hard to understand. It's very specific. It's very detailed. But the book's goal was to help at least 100 million people avoid preventable disease, because 2 million per year in the US alone are dying of preventable causes. I plan to live at least another 50 years. I want to help at least 100 million people avoid preventable death. The book is for everyone, but to work with me, it's the folks that are very motivated to make the change. They traditionally are very busy professionals, but they're high achieving people. They may be very successful in other areas of their life, but their health is kind of taking the back seat. But they realize, you know what? I can't perform at this level or do the things I want to do to enjoy the rest of my life without doing something with my body. And I've committed myself to doing the work. Although I know how to do the work in less time, they appreciate the number one, the investment, because you have to invest in yourself. Warren Buffett said it best himself. The best investment you could ever make, and this is one of the wealthiest people in the world ever of all times, and he would tell you that it's to invest in yourself. Invest in yourself, because nothing else is going to bring you the joy, the happiness, the level of satisfaction with your life as getting yourself to a place where you feel amazing. You can contribute on the highest level. So what I've designed is for folks who are already successful or who are professionals that want to be even more successful. They may not have a lot of time, but they're committed to do the work. Because like with you, Rudi, if somebody works with you, they have to do the work. This is not just to hear and go, oh, that sounds good. It makes sense, but you have to be willing to do the work. So high achieving folks that are willing to do the work, that are willing to invest in themselves, that know that there's another level of health and energy and well-being that they would love to be able to access. That's who I like to work with.
Well, I want to challenge the InPowered Life community to go out and take just something, one actionable thing from today's episode and to apply it into their life. And I then challenge you, obviously, go and grab a copy of the book, learn a little bit more about what Dr. Thomas Hemingway does, how he can support you. But at a bare minimum, I want you to follow him online so that you can just see what is the kind of life that he leads. And if you're at 52 years old, is that the kind of lifestyle that you want to be living? And to have that level of mobility and cognitive function and just completely taking life by the horns and living it to the greatest extension of the life that you have available to you, is just making some simple shifts and changes into your life so that you can constantly improve. Thomas, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I love and appreciate you and your family and how you guys show up out into the world and the example that you guys lead. We'll put your website, your show notes, your book, every link into our show notes so that people can grab them easily. But thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. And to the audience, as always, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for spending a moment with us. And I hope that you gained tremendous value from this, because you have an unbelievable life that is available to you, and you can increase the quality so you can live and achieve your highest, most optimized version of your life. It's all available to you, as beautifully demonstrated through Thomas's life. Thank you so much. We'll catch you in the next episode of the InPowered Life Podcast.
Thanks and aloha.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. And we would love your support in leaving us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to check the show notes for more information on how you can find us online and on Instagram. Now go create an amazing day for yourself, and we'll see you again soon.